Good evening. I'd like to open the Town of Pownal Select Board special meeting for personnel policy
Gave me too much. I don't know.
at 6:01.
Straight back.
Thank you. We need to call to order approval of agenda, personnel policy, public comment, and adjournment. Okay, entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Is there anybody on Zoom? No, we're all here. Okay. So personnel policy, did everybody read it?
Yes.
Okay. How would you like to do this, Tim? Do you want to go down like paragraph by paragraph and just say any questions or?
Yep, I think what would make the most sense is, so this is what we've done here is, I started the process by grabbing the VLC model and comparing it to what we have. And then we went around and I met with Darcy, Joel, and Tom, and we put all the feedback together of areas we thought needed improvement to bring the policy up to something that we all think is beneficial for the town looking forward as well as today. So I think what makes the most sense to do is literally to go through each section really quickly, and I'll highlight the pieces that have changed. And if you have any questions, throw them out there. And then Tom and Joel can add anything if they have. I don't know if Darcy's on.
So well, the one thing that I have, Tim, one question I have for, and it's for Tim, Joel, and Tom, and if Darcy's in here too. This personnel policy is going to affect everybody the same in town, which we don't have right now. Is that correct? Our departments are a little bit different, so to speak, on what's going on, or not? Our wastewater, our transfer station, and our highway. This personnel policy is going to encompass
The whole.
everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly the same.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And that was.
I just want that to be clear on the recording.
That was a big emphasis for all of us, for the four of us to sit down and do it together so that as we're presenting it here, each department may have a different input on something, but it's all a consensus of what we're hoping
Good.
to achieve.
And that's what I wanted. That's exactly what I wanted. I hope the board wanted that too, but that's what I wanted.
The goal,
Yeah.
the goal is to have one whole policy.
Beautiful.
Yeah. All right, so the first section, which is title and authority, not a significant amount of difference there, except what we did was, and this is something we started to wanting to do on other policies that we're starting to put through review, is instead of applying specific people to them, we're applying it to specific titles and heads of departments so that the policy doesn't have to be updated. Should there be a personnel change or a title change? It's just who's ever filling that role falls into that. And in this case, it's the authorized representatives, and that's the chief operator of the wastewater facility, the road foreman, transfer station supervisor, and the executive assistant to the select board. All right, then we go to section 2 of persons covered. So when we started to implement back in March, the work agreement process, this sets the stage for that. So you'll see that persons covered, this is a full and part-time employees. So as we venture in through here, there will be benefits that now will pertain to part-time employees. And elected officials apply if they're granted or seeking benefits. Then they would write or sign a work agreement, that's addendum C at the back of this, or B, that we'll get to and I'll show you, which is what we're all familiar with, but it's basically saying it's what we did with Julie, where they go through and say these parts do apply, these parts don't apply, and for that you receive these benefits as an elected official. It also, the other work agreements that we've started to do for the committees and the appointed personnel also get their basis from this, where it says except by separate written agreement, which is that work agreement for all of the committees and boards that are signing this now in order to get their stipend and to be make known what is that stipend, what's expected of them as they fulfill their role on that particular board or commission.
So in this policy, I don't see anything about pay or stipend. So is that something that we should add that?
So the way it works is, nope, all of that is neutral to the policy. The actual work agreement
We'll say,
specifies
okay,
that.
specify it. Okay,
All right, equal employment opportunity. Their probationary period.
Excuse me, Tim, I got a thing here.
Yep.
Your full-time employees work at least 36 hours. Part-time employee works fewer than 24 hours. Well, we're part-time, but we work more than 24 hours.
So that there's the one I sent around, it's been changed to 36 hours. So if you work more than 36, you're full-time. If you work less than 36, you're
So
part-time.
that's gonna be changed.
Yep. It's
I'm
already,
looking at one of the drafts you just sent me, but.
yeah.
It's this one.
Draft
Yeah,
B4.
here you go.
Oh, there you go, I have that one. All right.
There you go.
There, thank you.
The probationary period, we kept it at 6 months, which is currently what it is. Conduct of employees, this is basically just saying we expect everyone to work in a professional manner.
and this is also gonna go to the work agreement for anybody that's on the committee, the listers,
Yep.
justice of the peace, constable. That will all be work agreements that they need to sign and that will be part of it. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
For their conduct?
So the particular roles, if they're elected, we'll have to look at that. So the way I believe it would work is unless they're wanting a benefit, there's no way to force an elected person
Is
to
it,
this. But
is it a benefit or compensation? If they're compensated for their position, say like the listers are compensated, do they have to sign a work agreement even though they're elected?
so that's not necessarily how this is structured, but that's not to say we can't ask them to. There's nothing to prevent that.
Okay.
And that's a question we can get more clarification on with VLCT.
I would ask to clarify.
And I was just using the listers as an example because it popped into my head.
Right.
I was kind of looking at Jody Wendy's desk.
So when they do those candidate forums, one of the questions the public can ask is, if elected, will you sign the work agreement?
Yeah, no, it's true. That's
Yep.
true. That's an absolute question. And that's a valid question, I would think.
All right, conflict of interest. This is pretty much just saying that everyone is going to perform their duty with the best interest of the town in mind.
We do have a conflict of interest, a separate policy, right? It's our conflict of interest and ethics policy.
Do.
Yep.
So here's, that policy per se is for elected officials, not necessarily for employees. So VLCT recommends you put a section in here
Okay.
so that you have a way to handle that should it come up.
Okay, so my question was going to be if, would it make sense to reference it? But I think it doesn't make sense to reference it because just as you answered,
Right, so the way.
Doesn't apply to the
so
same people.
What you end up finding is sometimes it looks like there's some overlap, but actually they're at two different levels. One is at the employee level and then one is at the town level. So for instance, we have a sexual harassment and a discrimination policy that's at the town level. The one in here is at the employee level. While it feels like it's duplication, it's really not because it's aimed at two different audiences.
Okay,
When I say town level, I expect that for everybody.
And
No.
you're correct.
I mean-
And it's that sort of gray area, but they just recommend put it in both places. This
Yep.
handles the employee.
That way, as they're reading it, they know that there's scrutiny and,
Yep.
well,
Yep, yep.
No, I understand. I just,
All right, our hours of service, we didn't make a lot of changes here. The only one being, if I recall correctly, is that what we put up here is our basic core hours, and we just have reference that the actual hours occurring are on the website and are subject to change and can change. And that was, based on COVID, where we were continually changing our office hours and everything else.
depending on how that wind blows.
Okay. Political activity basically just says you're not to engage in anything political and regarding towns. But doesn't,
yeah, I like the delineation. That's that I think that's nicely worded.
So nepotism, the piece we added here is that, and the nepotism and the conflict of interest, we kept very similar to what was currently in the policy and just added that we seek to hire the most qualified applicants and realize that as a small community, sometimes you're going to have overlap.
Okay,
The alcohol and drug use, this was pretty much beefed up. The current policy didn't have a very strong policy in that regard. So this is pretty much cut and paste from VLCT that we went through and just made sure it fit what we were currently doing. Tobacco use, performance evaluations, and personnel records were pretty much the same as what we currently have. Use of town equipment and use of town computer systems got beefed up a little bit just to kind of represent what's current in today's world when it comes to using town resources. Which confidential information, you can't divulge anything if you know it's in a confidential setting regarding something outside of work. Eligibility for benefits. All right, so this section, what this applies to now, this is a change. These are changes relating to what we currently have. This applies to both full-time and elected officials. So elected officials may receive benefits if they've signed that work agreement and it's granted to them by you all.
So many hours and all that good stuff.
Right, so the one line that says here, employees and elected officials must meet minimum, that I'm going to strike and remove because it's not necessary. What that's relating to is requirements set by the carrier, not by us per se. Each piece of, we'll get into this more when we start talking about benefits down the road. But the benefit themselves, the carrier of like health insurance has minimum requirements that have to be met. That's what that's referring to. We don't need it. It can be on the addendum.
okay.
Doesn't pertain to us. Then the next paragraph is saying that if you're an elected official and you choose or are granted benefits, you must sign addendum B, which is the work agreement. And then the line is there, the town allows for the combining of roles for the purposes of calculating FEMA's retirement, which was our latest add to our current personnel policy.
Yep.
Okay, then we get to holiday leave. So the changes here, we added 12, 13, yes. We added the day after Thanksgiving for everyone to have off. And we gave
Can I
included.
interject really quickly before you move on? This is Rebecca.
Sure.
About the VEMR's thing, I just want to add that was a clarification that you guys added. It wasn't a new policy. I just want to be really clear since this meeting will be public.
Yep.
Publicly available for people to listen. That addendum we added about allowing combination was a clarification of a policy that we've always had, not a new policy. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Yep.
All right, so holiday leave, and then in addition to the day after Thanksgiving was the add of 2 personal days for people to use if they have another reason or pertain to another religious belief that is not granted them under the traditional days off.
So adding the 2 personal days, if an employee doesn't use the 2 personal days and this is set up, I assume, on the fiscal year, or is this set up on the personal days? Are we gonna set it up fiscal year, or are we gonna set up calendar year?
I believe we should do a calendar year so it falls into the rest of the stuff that applies here. And they don't carry over, so you
okay.
use
That
them or
was-
you lose them.
That was my
You
question.
aren't paid them if you.
That was my question.
Employment.
And if they were cumulative or not.
Nope. You just,
Okay, I didn't think so. I just want to be clear. Okay,
So all other holidays are paid except for the personal if you don't use them.
correct.
Fine.
Correct. Okay, then vacation leave. So this, we did make some changes. We took 5 categories and moved them into 4 and providing vacation time as soon as a person is hired to 10 days for the first 4 years. And they just have to wait out their probationary period of 6 months before they can take vacation.
Standard.
Yep.
So, that's not like you don't have to complete a 1 year of service in order to get the 10 days.
Correct. As soon as you start.
But it is by calendar, right? Because we were talking about that from January 1st. So if I get hired on December 20th, can I take my first 10 days off?
Nope. So this,
You have to do your 66 months.
you have to do 6 months, but the way this is set up as you accrue for every pay period. So you would earn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So you
No, I
don't
didn't
get
pay
10
period.
days, just to be clear.
No.
You don't get 10 days on year one.
You accrue at a
You
rate.
accrue it immediately, and then you can take whatever you've accrued, and it says in here you can only take what you've earned.
Right. So many hours per pay
You get
period.
0.833
Right.
days per month or something like that.
Right, no,
And
we
so
have to do
the
same.
benefit, the way we
Yeah,
structured
we do
this is from now on, NEMRIC can do this for us. So right now, it's very much a hand process that we have to go and play with the numbers in NEMRIC to meet with what we know. But this will start to be done by the software.
And will that start immediately?
Well, the implementation will have to sit down depending upon when you guys approve it and all that.
Right.
Yes, once it goes in effect, then I'll sit down with everyone who's here and figure out what they've earned,
See, we just ran into that with one of my employees where he got 20 days for 2 years.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, because it was after 15. Then they changed it. You get 20 days after 20 years. It was 17 days, I think.
Yeah.
So what they did was took 3 days away from him for 2 years. And then when he finally got 20 years, he got him back again, which,
Right.
just try to keep.
Right.
Right, but this should alleviate any of that in the future,
future,
correct?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, if they stay with his policy, you know.
Until the next board changes.
Right, no, but, right,
Hopefully with.
Yeah.
okay. Hopefully we create a policy that's gonna be good enough for the future that nobody's gonna wanna change it, and I think that's our goal, all of us.
We'd kind of like, in that instance, if you're hired, you work 17 years or 15, whatever it was, you get your 17 days, it kind of stays like that. Not so somebody comes in and all of a sudden they take 3 days or 4 days away from you and, you're losing ground. We just wanted to
Right.
keep up to the way they were hired, whoever it may be.
Right, no matter what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Good.
So I don't think we can do anything to impact future policies, right?
No,
What we're
well,
talking about is grandfathering.
I know.
Those that already had it. And,
That's-
that's probably something for future boards to consider. Maybe a clause that says any change to vacation policy will not negatively impact any individual employees. That way, if you fall into that category, you keep your 20 days, you don't
Yeah.
go back to 17.
Yeah.
But you need to give that input to the next board. When they're
We can
thinking about
add something like that, and we've done it a little bit for benefits where we said modifications to individual benefits will be made in a manner intended to preserve the level of benefit currently being received, so that if something changes, it's not like all of a sudden you don't have health insurance, something like that. So we can try to add language like that, and it's the wording that you have to get right.
Yeah, and we have to make sure that we're not boxing ourselves in too, because the way these things tend to go is board after board, and over time, the policies tend to be more generous and more generous to the point where they're too generous, and then somebody's got to pull it back.
Right.
And you can't limit yourself from pulling it back, but pulling it back should not negatively impact anybody who's already working, right?
I was going to say, if you're going to pull it back, then start with new employees.
Right.
Exactly.
No,
Pull it
that's-
back.
I
And
think
then-
we talked, Tim, about putting a grandfather clause in, so similar to that if you would not, your benefits wouldn't be reduced if the policy changed, you'd retain benefits at the level, the existing level, something like that, the wording.
Well, right now, the way this is worded, is this going to affect any of our present employees for the time they've got
It
served?
shouldn't. We went through and the buckets are, shouldn't
Pretty
impact
aligned.
anyone. Yeah.
And just one other thing I want to clarify, Tim, that the rest of us will still be getting, I know you have the 1 year accrual built in, but all the other employees will still get their time on their vacation or their, anniversary date, correct?
Yeah, so the way it will work is you'll receive that full amount on your anniversary date, but it
Anniversary
will,
date, okay.
but
yeah.
it will have been accruing for you.
Right.
So
Correct.
you'll
For the
see
year
it,
before.
you'll see it every paycheck.
Right.
So I guess I'm kind of looking for a clause in here on that so that we don't leave an opening
Okay.
for a future board to rescind stuff for employees that we already have in place. I mean, I know it's probably really hard to do that because.
Well,
because
they
boards can do what
could
they
do it
want.
anyways, right?
But,
They
but I
could do
really,
it, but
I would like
I-
to make it difficult because, and I'll give you a perfect example. I know there's a housing authority that I dealt with all last winter and they changed management companies over the course of this summer. So all of their maintenance employees that have been there for 20+ years, they pulled all their benefits away.
Right.
You know, I mean, I know it's a little bit different because it's not a municipality, but I know that they're losing their employees like crazy.
Right.
And I don't want to do that. I want to try to put some sort of a clause in there so that, you know, in March, if this board turns way over and Angie and I are the only two left here, I don't want to have to fight tooth and nail for the employees that we have.
Right.
So
I
it seems to
think
me
I
that the
did raise
best-
something like that up, Tim, didn't I? That may
It
work.
was in regards to the benefits. So that was the piece that's there. We can come up with something for, I guess, everything, right? That's what you're.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about the vacation
I was
days. If the next board says, oh no, in order to get 25 vacation days, you got to work 40 years.
Right.
Right? I just, I want to,
Slap in the face.
and I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
I want, you know, I mean, you know, and I'm not trying to overstep what you
But it's
guys
a-
have worked on here.
It is a double-edged sword because you don't, we as a board shouldn't be trying to reduce the power of future boards. That's the other side. And I think you were hitting on that too.
Yeah.
But so maybe the best that we can do is a recommendation for future boards or something in the policy that says if you're changing this policy, it is highly
Be
recommended.
mindful.
Be mindful of not pulling back current employees' benefits. We strongly recommend, or something like that, because I really don't want to tie the hands of future boards.
Right.
Because that,
No,
But you want to see, we don't have a collective bargaining unit.
right.
Okay, you know what I mean?
Right. You're not
So,
doing that.
and I don't think you want us to. And we're not, you know, real crazy about doing it, but you just need something to protect the employees you have.
Right, that's what I want.
Because no kidding around about it, all of us have been here. Well, I haven't, but I mean, you know, my guys, long time. Darcy and Carl, you know, everybody's been here for the long haul pretty much.
Right, and I don't want, I guess I don't want to tie any future board's hands, but I also want to make it fairly difficult for a future board to even consider taking away benefits that, because I mean.
If we've got good
and
employees.
The reality of it is,
doing that.
the reality is, we don't have a huge, knock on wood, we don't have a huge turnover of employees, and
Yeah.
I don't want to begin to do that.
Right.
yeah, that's, I agree totally. I
Yeah.
agree with the goal. I just don't know how to accomplish it.
I don't
because
either,
it's a-
but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Could you put a clause when we adopt this that
I called it a grandfather clause.
a grandfather clause that
Yeah.
any employees that were in place of the date of this being
Prior to.
prior to being,
But that works for this policy. I think what Mike is talking about is the next board comes in and decides to rewrite it, that clause is gone.
Right.
because it's in this policy, right? And this will be the one that they're replacing. So that's, we can easily do a grandfather clause now, but it's not going to impact anybody because we already looked at it and, right, we already looked at this and this
Well, can we do
policy.
it for like the next 20 years or something? Could we put a clause in there? I
Well,
mean,
I think we need to
can, 'cause then
research
you're-
that out.
Then you're saying,
Yeah, it's-
the future.
But I
It
really,
needs to exist outside the policy.
but I really want to try to protect that.
Because we went through hell, basically. You two were here.
Yep.
But 2 years ago.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
that was.
Yeah.
Yes, that was not fun.
We know, but
But,
that wasn't a good thing.
And I don't want that to happen again.
We don't either.
No, for sure. That's right. No, and neither do the employees.
Morale was terrible. Nobody.
And right now, I don't think we have that. Right now, I think.
everybody's good.
I think from what I see from, you know, I haven't been involved in a lot going on over to the transfer station, but I have, you know, I'm involved with you all the time and I've been involved with Darcy quite a bit this year and in the last few months. And no, I want to keep the employees we have. I want to make sure that they're happy. You know, unfortunately, age is not on our side right now with everybody, but well, I mean, you know, hey, let's face it, you know, but if you start taking away down the road, you know, how are you going to get a quality employee to come in and that's going to want to stay for the long term? You're not going to.
Right, if you start shopping benefits.
well, I guess do we have any options to
A new
to do
employee.
that? I mean, I understand the goal, but
Well, I
if you
think we
put in
need
this
to look.
policy, somebody can replace the policy. It has to be external to this policy, and if it is external. to
Can we
this
put a
policy-
clause in that it doesn't get this doesn't
Well, I
look,
think-
once adapted, it doesn't get revised for 5 years or something?
That's what I was trying to say, like 5 years, 10 years or whatever.
I mean,
Or a contract with an employee, maybe.
That's the only thing I was thinking.
So I think what we should do really, because I think we're beating around the bush here, because not one of us sitting here or Darcy or Rebecca either probably can answer this question. If we can research that out and find out what the best way, I mean, this is my goal, what the best way to protect our employees and the benefits of the vacation time in this instance.
Right.
I'm not sure who said it, but I thought that was a good suggestion. Have just a simple write up for each individual employee, basically being like a subcontract, just saying that, you know, we'll guarantee you that you'll be retained at the benefit. Any policy changes that are made will not affect your current benefit status. And the board signs and you sign and then put it in the personnel file. I don't know the legal,
How long would that last?
Darcy's right.
It's usually
Yeah,
a
no,
year, right?
So Darcy's right. I mean, this could be written into the work agreement, and certainly we can talk to the VLCT and get a very, very good and strong language around it. But Joel just mentioned it as well. You're essentially talking about an employment contract. They're hired under these, and no matter what the policy changes, if another board comes and makes another policy change, you are retained at the spot at which you are hired. It's, for instance, it's written into our policy about Beamers and any benefits that you retain those until you no longer have the position. So a signed work agreement contract would be similar to that.
And I would have no problem with that. I just want to make sure that we try to protect everybody that we have. You know, I mean, you and Megan, I mean, you know, because you're.
No, so where it gets tricky is just what we're saying, what's the language you use and the intent of this policy.
And where do we
is not
do
to
it?
be a contract. So if that's how we want to go, that's fine, but it's going to take.
well, I don't think it would be
how
a
did
full
the-
contract. It would just be a simple statement, really,
How
to be
did the
included
big-
with the personnel policy file and acknowledged by the employee and the current board. Am I right, Rebecca? Could it be
Yeah,
that
I
simple?
would say it would be on the work agreement. You don't need to get into like crazy legalese,
Right.
employment contracts. It could still be
Right.
at will for employees, but that work agreement would have that language in it, and we could certainly get some really good, strong language making it very clear to go into those work
It'd
agreements.
be very simple, really.
Yes, and
Rebecca,
then
would
that
that have
person is
to,
protected.
Rebecca, would that have to be done yearly?
I can find that out about the work agreement. I think that what goes
It'd
in
be
the
at
work
the time
agreement
of
is what you
hire.
put in the work agreement.
Right.
Okay,
For the life of the
You can write
employee.
in there that it would just be in force effect as long as the employee's
Correct.
employed by the
Or,
town
yeah.
of Pownal.
Right. I think you could do it as life of employment.
Well,
Exactly.
and that's why I mentioned it's written that's similar language to what is in the personnel policy about receiving of benefits, that you retain them until, until you're
Right.
no longer here. And so we could certainly write that into a work policy, a work agreement.
As long as it doesn't counteract our first title and authority, our second paragraph. This personnel
What is it-
policy
what does
does
that
not,
say? Mhm.
does not constitute a contract of employment with the town
Right, no, that's,
will
Or that will
not
state.
for any
right.
definite period of succession
Right.
periods of time. I mean,
No, it
that's,
wouldn't be,
So-
an employment contract. It would just be a negotiated factor of employment. I don't
Right.
Yeah,
know.
it's a work agreement.
no, I'm just, some of the language that you guys were using, there's a gray area there. That's
Well,
all.
I think Tim and Rebecca need to research that out and find out, because I think we're just.
We're just spinning in
Yeah.
I think
circles.
we know.
Yeah, none of
It's
us,
already
goal is-
6:30, not to rush you
Relax.
guys.
Right.
Relax
Okay, so
about
to
time.
clarify
Saying
your
it's
intent, you want us
6:30.
to find out language to ensure and protect that people retain the benefits at which they are hired. The only thing that could happen is potentially an increase in benefits, not a reduction.
correct.
All right,
That's
great, got
correct.
it.
And to be very clear, that doesn't mean that we can't reduce benefits, that a future board can't reduce benefits, but it would only apply to new employees. Just to be perfectly clear, we don't want to set the direction to say we're always growing in benefits all forever and ever, and you can never
Right.
correct.
I mean,
Because we don't know what's gonna happen down the road.
we don't know.
Right
Funding,
now,
we don't know.
towns, state, everybody's
Right.
can't get help.
Right.
Yeah. You don't know.
Okay.
Sorry, guys, I didn't mean to make that such a long drawn out thing.
Oh, it's an important thing
Yeah,
that,
it was very important, and I think
It was something we did talk about when we,
Yeah, I didn't mean to make it that long, but
No, actually, it was important, Mike. And like I said, we did talk about it. So thank you for that.
Okay, so where would you put that?
time, so no.
So we're on sick leave.
Yep, so sick leave, this is pretty cut forward. What we would do to kind of streamline it is everyone will get 5 days on January 1st so that they have 5 days regardless of when they get sick. And those will be awarded to everyone, all employees who meet the qualifications to receive sick leave. And that's a state of Vermont statute. That's not us.
Right. The state follows the feds, I believe.
Yeah. Bereavement leave, the next ones are very sort of cut and dry.
Yep.
Bereavement leave, basically the 3 days, short-term family leave, crime victim leave, leave of absence without pay, or just ways that people can have a time off if something is occurring in their personal life without being penalized for it.
Well, that would be an FMLA.
So FMLA, yes, you're correct. That applies if you have more than 10 employees. So we're sort of,
Okay.
so there's a whole section that was removed from here for that very reason, so that we're not obligated to it
Okay.
if we're not at the threshold. But that doesn't negate the FMLA that you receive through the state. Okay, military leave, jury leave. Those are again, very cut and dry. Overtime, this basically says that anything over 40 hours, including holiday vacation and sick time, will be considered overtime and paid time and a half. Community service, this is pretty much where we're at with the existing policy, is if you're doing something that benefits the town of Pownal, you can have some time off. And then there's some pieces in there that have to be followed just to make it easier on the department, should anyone choose to do it.
On overtime, isn't it usually anything over an 8-hour day and over 40 hours? Or,
Nope, I believe the way it is currently in the policy was
Okay.
40 hours.
I think you can do either or,
okay,
whatever is what I always understood,
I know,
whatever you're.
but we've got it in a contract, anything over 8 and then anything over 80. Cause we get paid bi-weekly,
Yeah.
so. Alrighty.
All right, so continuing education, just saying that the town is all for training for its employees and will ask for approval. Consider it. The employee harassment and discrimination and the sexual harassment pieces are very literally cut and dry from the VLC policy, the only, not even, it's not a difference, it's just who can they go to if they have a complaint, and it's the chair, the vice chair, or their supervisor.
And there's no, it doesn't matter where they start.
Right.
Okay. I just want to make that clear too, that it does, they can go right to, they can skip their supervisor and go right to the chair or vice chair.
Correct.
Or skip both those and go to their supervisor. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I just want to make sure that's very clear.
Yep. So the social media policy, there's two sections here. One that basically says, addendum D is the town social media policy, which we have. So it just refers employees to that, which will be part of this packet when someone reads it and signs, so they're aware of it. And then the personal use of social media just kind of outlines and clarifies, what should you be doing, what shouldn't you be doing on your own personal social media accounts during work hours.
And I'd like that in the work agreement as well for the committees and constable and whoever.
Any elected official.
Exactly. Anybody that is going to work or represent the town of any kind of manner whatsoever.
Any,
Well, that's a separate thing.
Okay, then
The personnel policy, man.
the employee discipline and termination process is similar to what we currently have. And then that brings us to basically addendum A is just the employee acknowledging, signing off. Addendum B is the agreement for independently elected officers to be bound by the personnel policy. And this is just like the one we used for Julie, where you fill in what applies, you fill in what doesn't apply, you fill in what they're receiving as far as a benefit. And then that is signed by them and agreed to by you all. And then, so the addendum C is a listing of the benefits currently received by the employee. So the way this policy is structured is so that it's an addendum so that it can change and the policy doesn't have to be totally redone as far as what benefits they're receiving. The only thing on here that for this conversation that would be good to clarify, because I haven't been able to really find anything written, is for health insurance, what we do cover, how it works now. Are you able to get family coverage? Are you able to get, what I've seen in practice, and this might only because it's the only way, it's all we have people asking for, is employee plus one. Is our current policy of our contribution, which is 34% paid by employee and 66% paid for by town, does that apply to whatever health insurance policy someone would ask for? And I'm only asking that so we can clarify and we can talk about what we want. I think it's very fair that we offer family
right.
coverage, only because if someone were to come in and work for the town with a family and we don't cover family coverage, the cost is significant.
Yeah.
Where if we're doing the 33 or 34 and 66% across the board, regardless of the policy, it, provides a break for those people who are working for the town with a family.
So let me ask a question about that. And I'm going to ask all three department heads. In my mind, this would potentially give us the opportunity to bring in somebody who may be a little younger with a family and may be able to retain them for a longer stretch of time. Is that, you guys feel the same way?
Yes.
Okay.
See, right now, I'm guessing with the family, if you have, or even the two-person like my wife and I had, it's pretty much equal pay, 66 and 34, right? If you have
It was
two
my
people.
understanding that already was an option, the family plan.
We do have a family plan, Darcy, but what haven't seen anything written down is it the employee's responsibility past the 1+1 cost differential?
As far as I know, the family has been the same split.
Okay, that's
Are you
great.
asking about that?
Yeah, but I think.
Yes, and just to put it in writing.
I think we should clarify that.
Right.
I
Yeah,
think
I
we
think,
should
yeah, if
agree
it's
on
not
clarifying that for
clarified.
sure and have it in writing.
I mean, I would think it'd be right within the insurance, agreement that
Well, I
we
think-
had with the insurance
But
company.
if Tim hasn't found it anyways.
they can
I'm
sign
sure
up.
he's looked it up.
No, I'm just.
I think we need to clarify whatever that is
Right.
and whatever we decide to do.
Yeah, I would like to know, I think there should be the breakdown of the individual, the +1 and the family plan. Those three should be options. As far as I'm concerned,
They are options for someone to come on the insurance. What's not specified anywhere is
How
when
it's
you get to
paid.
the family, who pays for it,
Right.
right?
Right, and I think we should clarify that right now.
We don't have anybody with a family right now collecting?
Can I say something?
Can
I would like to advocate that you offer family insurance at the same cost share. I think I might be the only employee, at least in the office, that has minor children still. I am not on the town's health insurance, so this is not advocating for myself personally, but I know that if I needed that insurance, if you make parents self-pay for their children fully 100%, you could lose good employees.
What's the current breakdown again for single and then
34.
+1?
It's 34% paid for by employee and 66% paid for by town. The cost for employee coverage is $798. The cost for employee +1, and there's a little difference between employee plus spouse or employee plus children, but it's basically $1,596.46. Family coverage is $2,243.03.
Right, but the percentage breakdown between 1 and 1+1 is the same. The cost, the insurance cost different,
Right.
but the percentage breakdown is the same.
Correct.
So I think it would stand to reason that the family would be the same percentage.
Yeah,
I think that's what
per
Rebecca was.
number of
They're
children.
gonna make up a new percentage for every policy they got in the world, these insurance companies. Come on, either you're gonna pay a third, we're gonna pay a third, and they're gonna pay 2/3, or they're gonna pay a third and we pay 2/3, whatever. Well, that's what you have for insurance. I never heard of such a thing where you'd have a different price.
Yeah, I agree, Ron. I
Yeah.
think it should all be across the board. I think that's the way most people do it. Most.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, we can make a motion right here in this meeting to
Include family.
include families in our insurance so that it is documented. And it is, we can make that motion to have it split the same exact way. So if a person has a family, they pay 34% of whatever the cost is, and we pay the 66%, whatever it is. And I'll move that we adopt that insurance policy where we add a family plan for our employees, or we add the option for our employees to have the family plan
The same.
at the same percentage as a single or single +1 insurance plan.
Second that.
It's a discussion.
Any
What's
discussion?
that? Yeah, this one.
One thing you really should do when they had it and took it away is eye care. You got all these people driving CDL trucks. And
Well, that would be different though, when we would have to change our insurance.
Right.
well,
Wouldn't that be, I mean, that would be a different discussion. I want to get this passed, and then we can certainly, I think you're absolutely
that's
right.
something we should look.
We should look into.
And it's all done. It's teed up as soon as this gets done.
There's no kidding around. We all have.
Two, right?
Yeah, so it would.
What are you trying to
Yes, so the benefits to look at would be dental, eye, short-term, long-term, and disability.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we're not gonna adopt this policy until you.
Right,
do
so
the
what
other,
happens
or
next is
Can we
I'll-
adopt it and that other's gonna be added on to the,
So what-
other part that they're gonna be signing?
So what will happen is I'll go back and update this with the changes.
Yep.
This still has to go through legal review. So I'm waiting to get a quote back from VLCT, and we can either have them do it or we can have our town attorney review it. And then once it comes back with their blessing, then you vote on it.
Okay.
And we don't necessarily need our board or our department heads for that. I mean, they're more than welcome, I guess, to come in, but you guys are comfortable with the changes that we have put in here, right? I mean, but you know, I'm just trying to keep you guys from coming to another meeting, that's all.
Yep.
I
And
appreciate you.
You don't
How
have
much I
to.
appreciate it.
Darcy, are you all comfortable with that?
Yeah, yeah, I
Okay.
think, and you're gonna work on the grandfather clause. I'll just call it that for something to call it, but
Right.
Tim will work on that. Okay. Great. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you guys for all the work that you put in. I mean, I know Tim, but the department heads for, you know,
Your input.
making this, making.
Help, and Tim did an awful lot of work.
Well, but I mean, you guys had, thank you for your input on everything in here so that it, excuse me, streamlines, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Oh, it's kind of our contract
Yeah.
per
I
se.
want to compliment you on trying to protect the employees. I like that very much.
Well, it's, we can't function,
Without you.
we can't function as a town without employees. I
That's
mean,
right.
let's face it, whether it's, you know, and honestly, you know, if somebody's not doing their job, there's provisions to remove that person from their job. But when you have people who are doing their job and doing their job well,
Right.
yeah, I want to protect them. I want to keep them. I'm all for that because it's, you know, I mean, you know, never been in the transfer station, never run the wastewater, but I've been in the seat of a dump truck plowing snow. Okay. And that's not, you know, that's not the easiest thing in the world. So, and it's not the only thing they do. So, but they're, you know,
Only one
To
other,
open up for public comment. Is there anybody out there for public comment? Please raise your hand.
Wait, Jamie's got a question.
yeah, I just
Oh,
had
Jamie,
one.
I'm sorry.
One other thing was, there wasn't anything in here for an annual review.
There's
Yes, there is in there.
Performance
Unless I
evaluation.
skipped over that piece.
Performance.
section for that,
Okay.
and it's depending on the department and
Okay,
the supervisor.
okay.
Okay. All right, now we're gonna open up for public comment. Megan, if there's anybody out there, please let them in. Please raise your hand and remember to state your full name.
There's no one raising their hand.
Okay, then can I entertain a motion to adjourn,
I'll move
please?
to adjourn.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye, opposed? Thank you.